Hi guys, it's GamerBro132 and welcome to this retrospective series. So really quickly I want to say right off the bat that this technically is like the intro to the entire series, because as you can tell while you're watching the video, I won't be saying stuff like, hey, it's me, welcome back. I won't be saying stuff like that. I kind of wanted to make this a little bit episodic where right as you finish an episode, it moves on to the next one. So this is pretty much the intro for the entire series as a whole. And another thing is that huge spoiler warning for all the games. And that is original trilogy, prequel, the 2 spin-offs I'm going to be covering, and even the movie, which I'll see how that goes. That's all going to have spoilers. So if you don't want to get spoiled, I highly recommend you play the games or watch the videos on YouTube. Probably watch the videos on YouTube because obviously some games are not really easy to get nowadays. And obviously if you want to try and find a way to watch the movie, there is a video up on YouTube that I highly recommend. I think it's great and I think you guys will enjoy it if you're a Professor Layton fan. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know all about this, and without further ado, here is Professor Layton, a Puzzling Retrospective. Enjoy. Professor Layton, one of the biggest icons from the DS era. This franchise means a lot to me. The story it tells, the wacky character design, the whole 1900s aesthetic, and another reason I'll get more into later on in the series. Even though I really enjoy Professor Layton, I feel like nowadays not many people usually talk about it. I mean, yeah, the franchise is not completely dead and the fan base is still active, but I feel like as years pass, Professor Layton is just not really known well to the public. Probably doesn't help that some of the games didn't get a re-release, and some of the games nowadays are rough to get. So yeah, but we can save that for another episode. For now, I want to talk about the first game in the Professor Layton series, Professor Layton and the Curious Village. But before we go into more detail, I want to talk about the console that made the game a phenomenon in the first place. And that, of course, right over here. I know it's not the system that it was originally on, but right here, technically, it was the Nintendo DS. This system was revealed back in 2004 and introduced something new for the gaming industry, a handheld capable of using 2 screens. This is a huge deal and probably helped the console do extremely well, as the system sold around 154 million units, being really close to the PS2 that sold around 160 million units as of this year, 2024. It also helped that the target demographic for the system was pretty much anyone you can think of. Your mom, your dad, your grandma, your grandpa, some random person you met at a 7-Eleven trying to get a Coca-Cola Slurpee. I literally mean anyone. And since it appealed to everyone, one of the main games you would see are puzzle games, such as Brain Age, Picross, Ghost Trick, that one game where you play as a guy with spiky hair and a blue suit that shouts, "Objection!" But of course, there was another puzzle game that took the world by storm, a game made by the company Level 5 Studios, who later on would make games like Yokai Watch, Inazuma 11, Fantasy Life, and the big one, Professor Layton. Back in the 2000s, the CEO of Level 5, Akihiro Hino, wanted to make a puzzle game due to the popular games such as Brain Age, and one of the inspirations for this is one of the books he read that was written by another important person to the story, Akira Togo. The two meet up and want to make a game based off the book, but it did not work out according to plan. So instead, they come up with a new idea to where the game would feel more story-driven and have the main character be a guy with a top hat and have a little boy apprentice with him. And that right there is pretty much how Professor Layton was born.
Now really quickly before I do begin talking about the game, I want to really quickly go over how you're going to be seeing the footage for this episode and pretty much the rest of the entire series. So for the original trilogy, the DS ports are what I'm going to be mainly using since I think it's the best way to play the game. But there also are the mobile ports released on iOS and Android back sometime in 2018. Like I said, I'm going to be using the DS versions because I think it's the best way to play it. Mainly for the gameplay. But when it comes to the cutscenes, I am going to be using them from the mobile ports. I also do have a POV that you're seeing right now to where you'll be getting extra footage to see what you're supposed to do during the game. Anyways, can I also just talk about the box art really quickly? I've always liked this box art for the game. Having Professor Layton and Luke up in front, and then having the extra characters in the back, with the village being behind everyone, it's a really nice touch and does sum up the game pretty well in my opinion. Now obviously, if you live in the UK, the box art looks like this. As much as I really like the whole thing where Layton's hat is in the middle, I don't know, this one's not really my favorite. I much prefer the American version. Okay, I think I've done enough rambling about the box art. Let's go ahead and begin with this game. This right here is Professor Layton and the Curious Village.
Ah, this music. It feels relaxing to listen to. Plus seeing the red car and the title being surrounded by the city. Man, I'm excited. So before entering, you'll need to give yourself a name. I don't have any ideas, so here. So the game opens up with a letter being narrated by Luke talking about a village, and then just jumps right into the first cutscene. Honestly, for 2007, these cutscenes still look really good today, especially in the HD version. So the basic rundown is that this man right here, Baron Augustus, passed away, and whoever locates the treasure called the Golden Apple will have his fortune. However, no one has found it, so after getting a call from Augustus' wife, Lady Dahlia, Layton and Luke head out to investigate. But before they can arrive, we get our first puzzle, which is pretty simple if you look at the map correctly. And just like that, we have arrived at the main setting of this game, Saint Mystere. But before we get in, we have our next puzzle, which I feel like would be a good time to talk about the puzzle system in this game, plus how the exploration works. So the gameplay works similar to a point-and-click game, where you click on specific spots for an action to happen. In this game, originally I wrote in my script there are actually 4, but it turns out on a replay there's actually 3. Give me a break. I have not played this game in a very long time, so understand that this script was made where I did not realize that. I apologize. Tetspot's dialogue from Layton and Luke, an exclamation mark where you can get a puzzle or interact with somebody. This gets changed on later in the game, which I'll get more into later on. I meant to say that it changes on later in the games, like it doesn't happen in this game, it happens in the next game, Diabolical Box, so yeah, just ignore the way I'm talking. And hint coins. Obviously, if you cannot tell, hint coins are the main ways you can get hints for the puzzles. If you do get a puzzle, something you'll see on the bottom of your screen, I believe, is pick rats. Pick rats are used as this game's point system. The more pick rats available, the harder the puzzle. When you finish the game, pick rats will be used to give you access to extra content, such as character profiles, artwork, music, cutscenes, and more. It's a neat way to get more stuff, but I mean, I kind of wish there was more of a use to it. Like, that's really it for the pick rats, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Continuing with the story, after talking to people like Stotch and Scarf, oh my gosh, and Ingrid, the professor and Luke head over to the Renhold Manor. After solving this puzzle, they head on in, and that finishes Chapter 1. Chapter 2 starts with meeting the butler of the estate, who gives you a puzzle and lets you meet up with the guests in the house. There's also a part where Luke mentions 2 paintings, but again, more on that later. For now, let me introduce you to the people who live in the manor. There's Matthew, the butler who I already mentioned, Simon, the nephew of Mr. Reynolds, Gordon Reynolds, the brother of Mr. Reynolds, and, of course, the main one, Lady Dahlia. She also has a cat named Claudia that just runs off. It's due to a loud noise. Again, more on that later. You're going to be hearing that a lot in this series, I promise you. So now for Chapter 2, it's up to our heroes to get her back. Okay then. After exploring and solving puzzles on the way, plus failing to get Claudia, rip Luke's face, our heroes decide to stop by the local inn. And this is where the game introduces some of its side content in the form of little minigames, with this one being the inn. The small gizmo pieces are also part of this too, but I'll let you more about that when we actually finish that. Yeah. It's a simple piece of side content where you decorate a room for Layton and Luke, and you'll find more objects that you can place the more you play and solve puzzles. Which, to be honest, out of all of the minigames that we're going to be seeing today, this one is honestly my favorite. I don't know what it is. I like the whole idea of just decorating a room. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of tycoon games on Roblox for some reason, so yeah, I think that makes a good reason why. So after more exploring and more puzzle solving, our heroes finally got Claudia back and officially conclude Chapter 2. Quick little side note before I get to Chapter 3, I do want to mention that there is a place where you can go if you miss a puzzle in the game. Just wanted to let you guys know that. It's important. So Chapter 3 starts with the death of Simon! Oh no! Wait, who? Yeah, that's why I mentioned him at the start, just to make sure. Also, in my script, I wrote mention Ramon here because it turns out that Ramon also has gone missing. Again, it's been a little bit since I've last played. Last time I played was like back in April, where I beat it. And right now I'm filming this, it's October, so it's been 6 months. I've had to use YouTube footage to remember some of the information, so yeah, but don't worry. I did play the game. I do have a save file where I actually did 100% it, so don't worry. I did play it, I promise. It's also here that we meet another important Professor Layton character, Inspector Chelmy, who's a bit of a jerk. Actually, bit might be an understatement. Also, Lady Dahlia goes off to a different room and just tells the professor to go find Ramon. Cool. But before leaving, if you click on this picture, it will show Lady Dahlia holding a baby with Matthew and Ingrid. But wait, when you talk to Matthew, he says that the person in the photo isn't Lady Dahlia. Plus, Lady Dahlia says that she never had a kid. Huh. Well, I guess it's time to get back to it. After again solving puzzles, Layton and Luke head over to the clock tower. And yes, after solving a quick puzzle where you also need to solve a certain amount of puzzles in order to proceed, then it's revealed that this isn't the first time something like this has happened and people would disappear not feeling well. Oh, also, if you did some of the correct puzzles, you unlock the ability to use this robot dog that I mentioned earlier. And this dog mainly helps you out collecting hint coins. Well, reveals its location, more like it. I think that's a really neat thing to have. And that ends chapter 3. Chapter 4 starts with it now being nighttime, and Ramon still isn't back. So the professor and Luke head out for clues, which leads them to a cafe, and where the man working behind the counter named Crumb, I actually do kind of like that name, says to look for someone named Prezuko. Again, that might be a mispronunciation. I am terrible with these Layton names, so please spare me. And when they find him, he says that the guy who's kidnapping people is an old man. And right as they both leave, they find the old man running away. But he's able to escape. And we get this very ominous scene where the lights turn on at the tower. Kind of makes the town feel a bit more creepy, I gotta admit. Chapter 4, done! Also, I've just realized this in my notes again from my script because I have issues script writing sometimes. Luke found a cog on the ground similar to the one that Simon had back in the manor, which I also forgot to mention. So yeah, I do deeply apologize about that. Again, I do have issues script writing. I'm sorry. Chapter 5 starts with Layton explaining what we saw happen to Ramon, and right away, it's shown that Ramon is okay? He even says that all he did was go out to the market, which just makes Layton and Luke look bad. Well, after a quick puzzle, our heroes decide to go and get some sleep. And now it's the next day, where the inn owner says that Chelmy wants to see Layton as soon as possible. But before entering, Luke finds a note that talks about Lady Violet, saying that she passed away. After talking with Chelmy, it's off to find out more about Lady Violet. Thanks to Ingrid, we find out that she was buried in the garden. Matthew also name drops a girl named Flora. Trust me, it's important. Especially finding out about her in the diary Layton finds in the manor. The diary also goes into detail on one of Barton's close friends, and it's up to Layton and Luke to find out. But later on, finding a newspaper about Chelmy, something seems off about it. I'm going to be giving my best Professor Layton voice with this. Oh dear. Chapter 6 starts with our two heroes heading back to the inn to find out that one of the rooms got destroyed. Yuck. After that, the professor says that the next place to go to is the tower, since it should have some kind of connection to the golden apple. I actually said that not correctly in my script, but I actually think it sounds a little bit better than what I wrote. If it sounds terrible in your eyes with the way I spoke it just now, just let me know and I'll do better or something. I don't know. So they arrive to the tower and see that the path is completely blocked. But then they find a girl who just runs off and drops a ticket that leads them to the park. And so they head out. Oh. And this isn't a Professor Layton, oh, this is a me, oh. Really quickly, I want to stop talking about the story and slow down for a bit. And as you can tell, it's going by quick, and I'm not trying to do that on purpose because I think the point is to mix the puzzle gameplay and story equally. Obviously, I can't show the puzzles too much, as this episode would be way too long and just drag the pacing of the video. But I can still talk about other stuff like the music, or cutscenes, or eventually later on the minigames when I get the last two, or actually no, last one, because I already talked about the dog and the inn. So let's talk about that, shall we? Like I said, the cutscenes for the game look really good. And remember, this is for a brand new IP that released back in 2007 on the DS. I also want to point out that in the cutscenes, Luke sounds different depending on which version you play, which I'm going to talk a little bit about that right now. So for the American version, which is the one I've been using for the video, the voice actor, or actress, my apologies, for Luke is Lonnie Minella, which shout outs to her for playing this character. And then if you play the UK version, you'll be hearing Maria Darling do the voice of Luke. I'll play a comparison really quickly of the two.
Huh? Why not? What are you hiding?
Why not? What are you hiding?
To be honest, I don't really remember why there are two different versions of Luke. I'm pretty sure it's out there somewhere, and if anyone knows, please feel free to let me know, as I'll try to clarify it next time when I bring this up, so yeah. And it's obviously, this is a comparison I did want to bring up. Personally, if you ask me, I do think both voices are good, although I much prefer Maria Darling's performance as Luke. Now, this isn't me trying to say that Lonnie Manella is a terrible voice actress. In fact, I think she also voices Flora and Emmy in the prequel trilogy. So she clearly is a good voice actress. I just don't like her portrayal as Luke that much. So yeah, but I still think she does a really good job voicing the other characters. Just wanted to let you guys know. Another thing I want to bring up is, honestly, just how damn amazing the score is for this game. It honestly blew me away with how good this music is. And sometimes I'll even listen to it in my free time. Probably my favorite, of course, is, well, the main theme. But there's some other good pieces of music, such as the nighttime theme. I don't know what it is, it's just so relaxing. There are obviously some other good music scores, but those are the main ones I can think of on the top of my head and what I wrote in my script. But again, huge shout out to Tomohito Nishura for his amazing work on this game, and heck, for all of the Professor Layton games. And I really hope he does get to come back and do the music again for the new Professor Layton title coming out next year. But for now, I think I've done a bit of enough rambling to make the video feel a little bit cooled down, so why don't we go ahead and jump right back into the story. So Chapter 7 starts with Layton and Luke arriving at the park that seems very, and I mean very, abandoned. While exploring, there's a couple important things that I want to point out. This poster with a younger Flora, another note referring to her finding out about the village's secret, and the fact that Layton and Luke almost get run over by a Ferris wheel! Holy crap, this game is insane! And I love it. Luckily they don't get hurt, but damn, like I said, I love it, and it was really intense to watch.
Blast.
Also, the Ferris wheel broke down a shed that led to an underground passageway? Oh, and after solving this puzzle, you'll be able to finish the third and final minigame, Painting, which is mainly a picture of Lady Violet. And yes, just like the robot minigame, there's scraps you can also collect that are obtained by solving puzzles. And that pretty much concludes all the extra minigames. Probably later on in the series, I'll cut them into at the same time, because I feel like putting them separately, it did not really work out, but I wanted to make sure I followed the script as much as I could. So yeah, I do apologize if the video just comes out weird, because, you know, I did it out of order, or did it at random times, but hey, I gotta do something to make the video interesting, I guess. Continuing the exploration, our heroes find a key that looks like the tower, and finding it ends Chapter 7. Chapter 8 begins with Ramon asking Layton and Luke to head back to the Renhold Manor after being told by Chumley and Lady Dahlia. So, they arrive and found out that Chumley is accusing Layton for killing Simon. But luckily, Layton has a way to prove that it could be someone else. This is a really fun part, I will admit. Saying that Chumley is the one who caused it.
That's absurd.
But he also says that this person isn't actually him, as him I'm referring to Chumley, of course, because of the newspaper found earlier where it says that his favorite food is fresh Kates, even though earlier he said no to Kates and tea from Matthew. Plus, when Layton said that Chumley's wife is Jane, he did it as a cover-up and tricked him into thinking that's her name when it's actually Emile. Play a clip of how it's actually pronounced. Google Translate.
Amelie.
Which goes to show that Layton is honestly one of the smartest and coolest video game characters I have ever seen. Even I was surprised about this from the first time I saw this. Although I am going to admit, the first time I found out about this from a video by Voyance, where he did a video on Curious Village, which you guys should also check out, as he's one of my inspirations for making this series as a whole. And yeah, I really like the guy, he's cool. So now that the cat's out of the bag, we get the reveal of the true mastermind, Don Paolo, who, going forward for the original trilogy, will be the main antagonist. But for now, he just hops out of a window to escape. It's also implied that Don Paolo and Layton have a history, but that's found out more later on in the final game of this trilogy. Again, more on that later, I'm sorry everyone. And one more thing, I wanted to point out a little fun fact that I think is actually really, really cool, and I want to give props to. So, if you don't know, one of the voice actors for the game is Christopher Miller, who I think does a really good job voicing the characters that he voices. But what surprised me the most is that he voices not one, not two, but 3 freaking characters! He voices Professor Layton, which of course, Inspector Chelmley, and Don Paolo. That's honestly crazy. Goes to show that this guy has a lot of talent, and this makes me really hope that he does return for New World of Steam next year, as right now it has not been confirmed, but with my hopes saying that the original voice actor for Layton in the Japanese version returning, I have hopes that he'll hopefully be coming back to voice Layton. Anyways, now it's time to move on to the 9th and final chapter. Layton and Luke head back to the tower to open the blocked path, but when they try to enter, both of them fall down into the basement. And while exploring, they come across Bruno, the dude who stole Ramon earlier, who, plot twist, which you're going to be seeing that a lot during these Layton games, created all the townspeople. Yep, everyone here is a robot. It's why you see cogs around the town. Plot twists like these are, again, a huge part of the series, and honestly, they get more crazy later on. Just wait when we get to, like, the prequel trilogy. That stuff is a big WTF moment. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, what? Also, before heading up, Bruno says that the golden apple can be found at the top floor and says that he will protect it until someone solves this puzzle, which is gonna be Layton, as you all know. After finishing the last couple puzzles and reach the top, this is the point where we'll give you a choice. To continue and finish the story, or keep exploring the village to find the puzzles you missed. Obviously, this is going to be a huge spoiler warning for the plot twist reveal, the biggest one, so if you want to, try not to get through spoilers, which I already mentioned at the beginning of the video, guys, come on! I can just go ahead and put a timestamp right here and go to that part, and that's where we pretty much, probably where the video is going to end, to be honest, so yeah, but timestamp, if you don't want to get spoiled. Alright, 3, 2, 1, let's talk about spoilers. So after pressing continue, we get this reveal.
It's you! What's this? What's going on here?
My boy, what you see here is the golden apple herself.
This is Flora. The girl who has followed you during the story is the golden apple. And the reason why Baron put his fortune on the line was so that way he could find someone worthy to be her guardian. But oh no! Don Paolo is back! So the trio tries to escape, but Layton and Flora need to escape through the top of the tower after the stairs break. Luckily Luke is able to escape out there, but unfortunately the two have to try and get out another way. Although, since Layton is pretty smart, both of them is able to escape the building with a glider that also destroys Don Paolo's ship, making him retreat for now.
I will have my revenge on you!
Luckily, Layton and Flora are just fine, but the professor notices an apple on Flora. So they head back to the manor to activate a button that shows a set of stairs to Baron's fortune. He then congratulates Layton and Flora. Bleh. He then congratulates... What the... I cannot speak today. God. He then congratulates Layton and Flora and gets the option to keep the money or let Saint Mystere keep it. She lets them keep it. She also decides to go with Layton and Luke back to London. And now it's time to wrap things up. Layton and Luke head back to London with Flora and have a conversation where Layton decides to keep the town secret between him and Luke, which goes to show how much of a charismatic guy he is. They drive off, and that right there ends the game. Of course, like I said, there's some bonus content after finishing the game, which gives you the most hardest puzzles in the game. There's also a hidden door, which really all it gives is some early concept art. The hidden door idea I do like as a concept, but the problem is that with how the DS system registers the codes, yeah, I don't think you're gonna really be able to use the hidden door feature. So really, I think it's best if you go on YouTube and find the video of it, which is what I did. Heck, I remember even trying it when I first got all 3 copies of the original trilogy, just so that way I could make this series, at least for those games. And I used a copy of Diabolical Box, the code that was in the manual, and did not work. So I just went on YouTube to find the video, and it turns out it's just early concept art. So yeah, just go watch the video on YouTube if you want to figure out what's behind the hidden door.
And that right there is Professor Layton and the Curious Village. Yes, I am filming this on a different day, as you can tell by appearance. I do apologize. This has taken me a little bit while to make, so just pretend that I'm wearing the same outfit from what you saw, like, for all I know, 30 minutes ago. Yeah. This right here is probably one of my favorite DS games of all time. Sure, there's some things I can probably nitpick about, but man, I just love this game so much. And it's clear that many people did, as this game, by the time that I am filming this video, I am pretty sure, has sold around 3 million copies, which is a lot, especially for a brand new IP. I should probably add that in as well. Now, of course, if you know the series, you would know that this game was part of a trilogy, and this right here was only the beginning. So, next time on Professor Layton, a Puzzling Retrospective, we're going to be looking at, in my opinion, what I consider the most darkest game in the series, and probably what some people can consider the fan favorite in the series, Professor Layton and the Diabolical / Pandora's Box.